Ah, this is Adria Estribou. Welcome to Angel Update for September 16th, 2023. So we'll see what the angels have for us this month. Sometimes they pause for questions, sometimes not. So if you have questions that come up, feel free to type them in the chat and we'll just see how it goes. And the angels will announce themselves so you know who's speaking. This is Angel Raphael. Peace and calm and suppression wear the same mantle sometimes. So if you think of a blanket of snow, a little weighty, a little cold, it also makes things quiet and nice, simple, but some things get buried there. So there is a wave of suppression happening right now against humankind. So again, we want to say trust your own senses. We don't say this to bring you into fear. Still, we would say from the vantage point of the angelic, the battle, so-called battle, was won long ago, 2-3 years in terms of the tipping point. So there are still those beings around, unfriendly to earth creatures, including humans. So they have another blanket effect right now, attempting to suppress what we would say in a word, human, individual freedom. So freedom would be the one word there. So what you can do in times like this is trust your own senses of intuition and right. Where to distrust would be social and mass media. Social media has become quite infiltrated as well. So if something is pointing to a lot of fear, tragic is another word we would use for this kind of suppression, getting you to focus on the tragic, creating a tragic so that you could focus on the tragic. So it's not that you ignore human plight or helping out your neighbor or friend or those you are able. Your reach can be global as well. But please don't fall for it, you know? The puppies and kittens with the big eyes crying because they're starving. That kind of energy. If you were to really encounter a puppy or a kitten, you could feed it, you know, give it love, come right out of that tragic feeling. But when it's being shown to you on video loop, there's a reason, and it's not about alleviation for the suffering in this instance. It's about tragedy, bringing you into this vibration of the tragic. So be cautious of that. If there is some earthquake or some storm or something happening that is tragic from one point of view, and you want to help, go ahead and help. But we would suggest don't stay on the loop that keeps your mind and heart focused on, oh, it's so tragic, so terrible, so tragic, right? That is a form of suppression. It's keeping you aware of tragic and not aware of your own light and freedom. So again, we're not saying to be unkind or cold towards those who might need aid, and to be compassionate towards those who feel uprooted. But you can do that while holding your light. One of the ways you can do that is by aiming your light in that direction. How do you do this? Use your intuitive knowing. You don't have to have much more than your intention here. You don't have to be a so-called star being or have many courses in how to direct light. You just, with the friendliness, the loveliness of your own heart, like sending them a letter in the mail, but instead you're just sending some light. Oh, I bet that person would like to feel a warm hug right now, or something tangible in light. So do that instead. If you're going to spend 20 minutes focused on something that is quote-unquote tragic, send some light to it, make a change, do something different about it instead of becoming infected, so to speak, with tragedy yourself and walking around the rest of the hour or the afternoon feeling that all is not right with the world. That is a pandemic of sorts, a global suppression of sorts. Has to do with keeping down your light. So be cautious in these times. A few people with a video camera can create this kind of dis-ease of tragic. It spreads around the world, and the whole mood is dampened. The way that snowfall dampens, quiets things, right? This is a mood dampener globally. So be aware and shift it. Well, perhaps it is tragic, and yet the way to solve it is not to go into the tragic, vibration of tragic yourself. We're not saying not to have a human reaction, surprise, shock, awe, whatever it is, but don't stay stuck there in the loop, right? In the loop of suppression. Good. This is Angel Raphael. So that was just one part, not the full part of the message today. We also want to speak about daydreaming. We've been doing so in longer hours, play shops and transmissions and so on. But for the larger group here, we do want to say it's a beautiful time to be in the daydream. Not someone else's, and not necessarily a collective daydream. That might be a little fraught right now. You're not quite yet practiced on collective daydreaming. That comes soon, comes next. For now, your own daydreams. What could make the world a better place, or what could make my place a better place, or what could make my heart thrill with joy, and play it out in the space of daydream. What color is it? What does it smell like? What does it feel like? What are the words maybe that you say? This is not about control, but it's about setting the tone for your adventure, your life adventure here. And very, very quickly you see some elements of that daydream start to show up in everyday life, and that's how you know it's working. You can be a good scientist here and double check, do the daydreams work? Is any of this playing out in my life? Am I meeting those people? Am I having that quality of interaction? Am I feeling that light and delight? So we're coming out of, in small measure, coming out of that time when it's so important to be a friend to those grieving wounds of yourself. There'll be a little more of that perhaps, but mostly that's lifting up now. So the energy becomes more, we would describe it as looking down from above. So when you're looking down from above, things that appeared very large, quote-unquote problems, look small, but also you start to see the interconnectedness of things. The reality, quote-unquote reality of magic, and patterns that might play out in a lovely future for yourself. So this is, we would say, the era, so to speak, of the next month here is daydreaming, and also this looking from above perspective, which is not about angelic or above as in judgment or hierarchy, but floating, drifting above and getting a higher perspective on what's going on for you. This is particularly about viewing your own life and circumstance. When you're a little bit lifted up, things feel more weightless, but you also get a chance to see the connectedness of things. That's why we mentioned collective daydreaming, that those kinds of things come apparent quite soon. So allow this kind of detach. It might feel like a detachment for a moment. Why do I not feel so much like rolling up my sleeves and getting in the mud with my problem? I'm just kind of noticing how small it looks for a minute. It's still there, okay. But look at this interesting thing over there. And the neighbor's horizon and this over here. Just noticing. You might not yet know how to connect, but you'll start to see the threads of pattern and connection globally here. How a theme that might be playing out in your daydream you see on television in Morocco or somewhere else. So yes, enjoy that aboveness. It is not so much about lifting up in a spiritual sense as it is getting a new perspective. All of these, the low down, we could describe the last month as being closer in or more low down with the denser field of your own emotional being and loving that, bringing healing there. There's quite a lot of value in that. There's also value in rising up above and looking down into the circumstance you're in, at the same time as daydreaming things you want to add or subtract from what you see in your own life. So not so much again about rolling up the sleeves and do effort. Right now it's much more about creating change through perspective, shift in perspective. This is Angel Ariel, and we would say that in terms of change for humankind, this is not a temporary phase, this ability to look from above. You'll find it becomes a more familiar, comfortable vantage point than looking from down in earth or below. It becomes a more natural view. So it may be unusual at first, exciting, fun, or just odd. But we would say that you'll be spending more and more time here. So this has to do with acclimating to new ways of viewing yourself. The question comes, is this the same as witness consciousness? This is Angel Ariel. It is not strictly. You could, for example, be up from this vantage point from ego consciousness or well within the I self. So that's all right. You're not doing it wrong if you still feel your own sense of right and wrong and pleasure and distaste and so on. You may not be watching yourself from above. That would be a little bit more like witness consciousness. So the two are complementary, but they're not exactly the same. This is Adria. If there are any questions about these two themes, feel free to type them in the chat. Just pausing to that. There's a delay on the chat. Give it time to come through in case there are questions. Yes, this is Angel Raphael. So even now we feel this shift. You might think you are small in number, yourself, a few of your friends. But this taking back of your own narrative, of your own viewpoint, is already shifting what we've been speaking of as suppression. So good work. Question from Judy. So why are other beings allowed to suppress humans? This is Angel Raphael. We'll go very wide for this answer. from angelic perspective, this is all you and the other beings and the rocks and the trees and the birds and so on are all one consciousness. So you cannot truly inflict harm. And yet, there's something about creating the illusion of the real here that allows for this. Killing, maiming, suppression, harm, doubt, regret, and all of these things that perhaps don't seem ideal. And yet, from human perspective and angelic perspective, if there were teams in the game or the play or the delight, the illusion that's going on, we do support this free will of humankind and freedom. That's our, if we could boil this down to one word. So part of having someone or something attempt to suppress your freedom, the gift in that is recognizing that they cannot. Oh, just because someone says, hey, stop being free, feel mopey and depressed and tragic about the world, doesn't mean you have to do that thing. So if you look a bit wider, this is a time of empowerment for humankind, of recognizing, oh, just because someone handed me, oh, here's the script, you're supposed to be sad today, I don't feel like doing that. So there's an exhilaration and empowerment to be had in facing and lifting off from the suppression. It cannot harm you, it cannot harm itself. From Marian, is that looking down because the threads have already formed? Threads are in motion. This is Angel Raphael. Like life, like yourself, yes, in a way you're already formed, but you're also moving around quite a lot and changing your mind and physically moving from place to place. So the threads or the currents, the life patterns you may see are already there, yes, but they're also ebbing and changing and flowing and being newly created as you daydream things and others daydream things. So it's not a static picture, but you may be more aware of how connected you are with all that's going on by viewing it from a different focal point, lens. This is Raphael, yes, so to wrap up here, we want to say, not a tragedy. Take your freedom, it's yours. And you don't have to fight for it, you just notice it. Oh, this is my freedom. And then if things feel daydreamy or viewed from above, we'd say, encourage that or notice that is the particular magic right now of humankind's evolution. So nothing you need to fight against. You don't have to worry so much about, in a traditional sense, oh, I better get grounded. I'm too airy. I keep floating off into daydreams, or oh, I better focus and get something done. You can do that. Again, it's your freedom. But we would suggest there's quite a lot of magic and growth here in the upper view and the delight of the daydream. And you'll see how tangible the daydreams are as well. This is Adria Beautiful. The angels are asking me to end. Thank you so much for joining with this month. And we'll be back again live. I think it's the third Saturday of the month, whatever the pattern is here at the same time. We'll continue with these live angel updates. So much love to you.